Hi friends, thank you for joining me today. It's Andrea here, and I'm really excited to share this recipe with you. I feel like I've been working on this recipe forever since I really don't want to do a disservice to my heritage. So here I am with my version of beef pho. The list of ingredients might seem extensive and scary, but I promise you once you get all the ingredients into the pot, it's smooth sailing from there. So let's get started. Okay, so to make the stock, you're going to need some beef bones. There are many different types of beef bones that you could use, but for simplicity's sake, I just bought 2 pounds of beef soup bones here. And so now I'm just going to fill my pot with water until all the bones are submerged. And then I'm going to transfer this pot to the stove and let it come to a boil. And we're just going to boil it for 5 to 10 minutes. So this method is called parboiling, and parboiling just helps to get rid of any blood and impurities in the bone for a cleaner, clearer broth. While we're waiting for our pot to boil, let's go ahead and prepare some of our spices. So I have here 1 hand of ginger, 2 onions. I originally wanted 1 large onion, but I only have 2 small onions, so this is what I'm using. And then also 1 shallot. And my dried spices, I have here 1 pod of black cardamom, 3/4 teaspoons of coriander seeds, 4 cinnamon sticks, 1/8 teaspoon of black peppercorn, which is about 8 black peppercorns, 6 star anise, and 8 cloves. So I'm gonna start here by cutting everything here in half. I'm gonna give my ginger a quick rinse just to get rid of some of the dirt that might be stuck on here. While you're doing this, don't forget to keep an eye on your bones that you're parboiling, just to make sure that the pot doesn't boil over or anything. Okay, so now that it's come to a boil, we are just going to let this continue to boil for about 5 to 10 minutes. You can reduce the heat just a touch lower. So now here we're going to char our ginger, onion, and shallot to produce a more rich flavor. I'm gonna be using my new toy here, this torch. It's gonna be fun. Don't worry about the amount of char that's on here. You're going to be rinsing it off. So now that they're all charred, we're just going to let them cool before we rinse them off so we don't burn our hand. Okay, so our bones are done parboiling. So what we're going to do is we're going to take them out of this liquid here, and then we're going to give them a rinse to rinse off any of this gunk that's stuck on there. We can discard this liquid because we don't need it. Once these are cool enough for you to handle, you can go ahead and rinse away the char that's on here. So now that we've rinsed off all of the charring on our aromatics here, you might be wondering what was the point at all in charring these in the first place? Well, the thing is when you char these aromatics, it brings out the sweetness in the shallots, the onions, and the garlic that you wouldn't otherwise get if you were just straight boiling. Another thing is you want to rinse off the excess charring on these aromatics because you don't want it to go into your soup and make it a dark, cloudy soup. You just want a hint of smoky flavor. So I finally did it. I ripped off the protective coating. My Asian side wouldn't let me rip this off unless it was necessarily coming off on its own because I want to keep it fresh and new, but since this is coming off and it's looking pretty bad, here it is. It's off, like a band-aid. Okay, so now let's get to toasting our spices. We're gonna set the Instant Pot to saute on low for 10 minutes. Just throw in the spices and warm themselves up. The reason why you want to toast your spices is because you want to awaken the oils to help produce a more flavorful broth. Once the timer is up, we are going to set our Instant Pot to pressure cook on high pressure for 1 hour. We're gonna add in our aromatics and let them saute for 1 to 2 minutes. Now let's add in 10 cups of water. We're also going to add in 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 dried shiitake mushrooms which have been rinsed well, 2 stalks of green onion, 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, and of course our soup bones. Make sure your soup bones are submerged and then wait for your pot to come to a boil. I'm putting the lid on here to allow the liquid to come to a boil quicker. The thing about the Instant Pot and pressure cooking in the Instant Pot is that I don't actually think that before it comes to pressure, the Instant Pot really boils the liquid at all, and boiling the liquid is crucial to extract the maximum amount of flavors from all of the ingredients as possible. So now that the soup is boiling, we've put the lid on. So we've switched the valve to seal, and we're just going to let it come to pressure and let it do its thing, and we can carry on with our next task. Okay, so we are going to make our pickled onions now. We're going to take 1 to 2 onions and then thinly slice it. Next, we're going to add in enough white vinegar to cover the onions. And then stir in half a tablespoon of white sugar. Then you can set this aside in the fridge for when you're ready for it. Next, we can soak 1 package of small rice noodles in some warm water. And this 1 package is just 454 grams. This will be about 4 to 6 servings. Push the noodles down, and eventually they will relax in the water. Okay, we can go ahead and prepare our garnishes. So this will really depend on how much or how little you want. For us, about 2 stalks of green onion, a handful of cilantro, and 1 lime, and also some bean sprouts. I've got a bag of bean sprouts here. They've already been pre-washed, but I'm gonna soak them anyway, and this will just accompany our bowls. Again, it really depends on how much or how little you'd like. So I'm just rolling my lime here to loosen up the pulp inside the lime to make it easier for the juices to come out when you squeeze the lime. If you follow my channel, you know I do this every time, lemon and lime. Okay, so here I have a piece of flank steak. I'm going to thinly slice this. You don't particularly need to buy flank if you don't want to. You could use striploin or chuck as well. I like to use flank because it's a more fatty cut, so it's going to be a softer, more tender meat. So I'm gonna thinly slice this, and I've frozen this beforehand, which would make thinly slicing much easier. You're gonna want to cut this as thin as possible because the action of pouring the soup over the meat, that's going to cook the meat. So the thinner the slice of meat, the quicker that the meat is going to cook. So we've got about 20 minutes left on the clock. We can go ahead and start preparing our bowls if you'd like. So first off, we are going to bring a pot of water to a boil, and then we are going to boil our noodles. And the nice thing about pre-soaking your noodles is that it makes it easier to cook the noodles now, because you'll only need to soak your noodles in boiling water for about 10 seconds before you drain and put them in a bowl. If you did not soak these, then first of all, you'd have to fight with stiff noodles to get them into the water. And second of all, it'll take much longer to cook them. So our timer is just about to go off, and when it does, we're going to let it naturally release for 10 minutes before we manually release the rest of the pressure. Okay, so 10 minutes of 11 minutes now, I guess, of natural release. We're just going to switch the valve to vent and release the remaining pressure. Okay, so now that all the pressure has been released, we are going to set the saute function to high and just let it boil. While we're waiting for this to boil, we can assemble our bowls. So we're going to top our bowls off with some bean sprouts, how much ever you would like. I find that a handful is good for me. And then we are also going to put some beef slices onto our bowl here. Before you add soup to your bowls, just check to make sure that it is to your liking. If it's not to your liking yet, add some fish sauce until it's to your preferred saltiness. Just another splash. So when you're adding soup to your bowls, sometimes the spices might want to try to follow. So I find that pouring the soup through a strainer helps to catch the spices. If you don't care, then go ahead and just pour as you will. But when you're scooping the hot soup into your bowls, aim it over the raw meat to partially cook the meat. Then you can garnish with your remaining items. And here it is, friends. Thank you again for joining me today. If you tried out my recipe, please leave a comment below on how it turned out. I'd love to know. If you liked my video, please click the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more fun Asian food ideas. Until next time, friends. Mwah!